sort of the innocent new agent, new French agent, and Charlize being a little bit more, weathered and having a lot more, I guess, experience in the field than she does, and you buy that kind of dynamic they have. And that's one thing
it's
that
sexy as fuck. You kidding me? There's like
Yeah.
14-year-old boys beating off to this movie left and right.
I mean, besides like Hey, El Toddo,
What's going on?
we got a podcast, The Buff and the Blazer. If I was a listener, where would I go to find more?
You can check us out on our website, thebuffandtheblazer.com. Drew over there writes a article that goes along with every single episode.
You can find all kinds of little extras on the articles, and you can listen to the podcast right there. Also, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Buff and Blazer. Follow us there.
Get those clicks, people.
The Buff and the Blazer.
Welcome to the Buff and the Blazer, episode 21. I'm Drew, and as always, I'm here with El Toddo.
Yo.
And today, we're talking about a film that I think I've name-dropped a few times on the show, and I know I've talked a lot about to you, El Toddo, off-air.
Yeah.
But today we're discussing Atomic Blonde, directed by David Leitch, and I'm super excited to dive into this movie. So let's just get right into it. After you saw it, what were your initial reactions?
I was so pumped up, dude. Like,
So I didn't overhype it.
it was better
Oh, cool.
than I expected. I expected it to be pretty badass, but I was like so pumped up. My lady came home like right as I was finishing it, and it was fairly late at night, and I was just like, I stopped the movie when it was done and rated it, and was just like, oh, this movie's awesome! Like, you have to watch it. Like, running around like a little kid, like a freaking teenager. I was so pumped up. I absolutely loved the soundtrack in this movie. I think that like really, really bumped it up for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was like all just 80s David Bowie and Flock of Seagulls and George Michael.
Yeah.
Like, it was so good. I absolutely loved how the 80s music was playing for so many of the action scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
And I was just absolutely pumped up, dude. I totally loved it. I watched it twice. This is the first movie we've done that I went back and watched.
Whoa, okay.
I had like a 24-hour limit on the rental. I paid like $3.99 to watch it. And
Yeah.
the very next night, my lady and I watched it again. So that's a first. I liked it so much that I went back and watched it again.
Wow, that has to be the highest praise I think you've had for a film on this show.
Yeah, and there's other movies.
In your own way.
Yeah, there's other movies that I'd like to watch again, like Jojo Rabbit and Parasite in 1917 and Extraction and Sonic. Like, I'll absolutely go watch those again.
Yeah.
But this movie, I was like, oh my God, I only have 22 hours to watch it again. I'm definitely going to watch it again.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, it's no secret. I love this movie. I've watched this film like over 10 times. It has a really nice rewatch quality to it, and I think for me, not only is it entertaining, it's really, really nice to look at. This is probably one of my favorite films in terms of cinematography and in terms of like color choices.
Yeah.
It's like it's based on a graphic novel. It's like watching a graphic novel.
Yeah, it has that Sin City feel a little bit.
Yeah. And like just everything, like Charlize's performance, all the acting, the story, the action, the way it looks, like you said, the soundtrack. I'm not even a huge fan when films have a strictly pop-based soundtrack or, popular soundtrack with artists on it. But I couldn't think of a film that fit that mold better than Atomic Blonde.
Yeah.
Like all of the 80s music matched this film perfectly.
It really frames the time period and like the contrast between like the wild hot colors and the
Yeah.
the gray kind of Iron Curtain Russia
Yeah.
look. You know what I mean? It was just like so dingy and so bright at the same time.
Yeah, I love it. It has like this. It has a dark, gritty vibe to it, but also this kind of punk essence to it. It's
Yeah.
really just well done all around, and I don't know. I could watch this film over and over again. It never gets old for me. That's why when we decided to do it, I was like, hell yeah, let's talk about it, because I always I always find an opportunity to drop it somewhere, and yeah, I'm glad we're doing it.
Yeah, this is going to be on our end of the year podium for best hot chick kicking ass movie, I think.
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard to outdo this. Birds of Prey and Anna were entertaining. This movie
Yeah.
was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And when I watched it the second time, I noticed a bunch of more stuff, because not only is it beautiful and awesome to watch because of the action, the story's super, super intricate too. And
Yeah.
I was paying really good attention. I didn't get all of it in the first go around. In the second
Yeah.
go around, there's a bunch of things that I picked up on that I didn't catch the first time around. So like rewatch value is through the roof on this one.
Yeah, it is a pretty layered story. Like, what you could basically call this, this is like a child from the John Wick franchise. Like, some of the great people involved in the John Wick series, the John Wick franchise, this is like another one of their brain children, Atomic Blonde. Like David Leitch, he was a co-director on the first John Wick, and a lot of the same stunt guys and the stunt team were brought over to Atomic Blonde, so there is kind of a continuity with that level of quality that you see in the John Wick franchise applied to this film, which is kind of, if you like John Wick, you're going to love this film. Like, in some ways, I think this takes all of the best aspects of John Wick and puts it all into one film, on top of getting, like, new characters with Charlize and the whole cast. So, I know you and we were talking about it a little bit before, but it'd be nice to get a crossover.
Yeah, crossover. That's the one thing that John Wick is kind of holding over this movie in terms of greatness, is because John Wick so far is a trilogy, and it's going to be more. So
Yeah.
if we can't get a crossover, we can't be too greedy. We definitely need a prequel or sequel to Atomic Blonde.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised. When this film came out, I don't remember there being a whole lot of buzz about a sequel. Usually when a film does well, the talk comes out immediately. It's like, oh, studio greenlit a sequel, or director's in talks for a sequel. But I don't remember any of that going on when this film came out. I think everyone was just really happy with how they ended it. But if they were to announce a sequel to this film, like, sign me up right away.
Yeah, so it looks like John Wick 2 came out, 5 months, 6 months before Atomic Blonde, the same year.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, oh man, it would be... I did read an article talking, they interviewed the director, David Leitch, talking about crossovers.
Yeah.
And it was on traileraddict.com.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about making, the difficulty of making a crossover with these two characters would be the timelines, because one's
right
at the late 80s, the other one's present. But I'm sure these people are creative enough to make those timelines meet up. It doesn't have to be that crazy. Go back in Wick's career and fast forward a bit in Lorraine's career,
Yeah.
and boom, they meet up in 1998 or something.
Yeah. And then another great little branch of a film that we already talked about is Extraction. Sam Hargrave.
Yeah,
He
it's
worked
like
on this film.
Yeah, it's like this pyramid
this-
of ultimate action movies that's getting built up.
Yeah, it's this like small, tight-knit community within the action genre. But yeah, he served as the stunt coordinator and the second unit director on Atomic Blonde. And as I was watching the film with the commentary, Leach makes a little comment after the hallway scene or the staircase scene, and he's like, Sam Hargrave did such a good job at second unit. He's going to have like a great career as a director one day. And Extraction, you and I both really like that film.
Yeah, it was awesome. And this movie was awesome too, and I just want more of it.
Yeah.
It's like just keep cranking them out. They're so good. Like, this is totally my genre. Like, this is what I like in movies more than anything. I like horror movies a lot, but really good action is what my favorite.
Yeah.
I like this way, or a really good comedy, but
yeah, let's jump into the story a little bit. Did you like the way the story was structured in terms of it kind of being told? You get the kind of the background of the agent that goes down that Sam Hargrave plays, James Gascon, and he gets killed, and it kind of throws you into what the story's centered on, and then it's kind of told from a flashback perspective, with Charlize Theron's character Lorraine being almost like questioned / interrogated by her own agency, and she's recalling the events. Did you like that?
yeah, it's similar to, I guess, like what Irishman is. It's like two timelines.
Yeah.
She's the narrator of her own story kind of thing.
Right.
And I liked it because, there's obviously spoilers on this one because the movie's 3 years old, but I liked how you don't really have a clue at least I didn't the first time watching the movie. You don't really have a clue that Goodman is kind of in on the whole thing.
Yeah.
When they're in the interview room.
Right.
He's
kind of there like consulting, right?
Yeah. And I love that she's all beat to shit in there.
Yeah, her introduction.
Yeah. She's like all beat up, from getting because it happens like right after she gets back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the timeline. I feel like it didn't it gave mad clues like any kind of spy movie does throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it worked for me.
Like, let's go back to that opening scene, that introduction scene of Lorraine, when you're kind of zooming in on her and she's looking in the mirror and you're checking out all the bruises and cuts and gashes she has. Did you get a sense of what you were in for just from that opening scene with the film?
Yeah. Yeah, like I that's something I enjoy in movies when the hero gets beat down, and right from the beginning she's taking like an insane ice bath, and I can't remember exactly what music's playing, but I think it's like Bowie or something right in the beginning.
Something like that, yeah.
And the music doesn't really fit like the mood. You would expect some dramatic, sad orchestral music or something like that, but it's like this poppy 80s going on. And
I love how she has the bloodshot eye too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man.
They did a really good job with her injuries.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this movie. Extremely
like
consistent.
everything, even the costumes, like her outfits, all of the outfits of the extras and other people on camera, they just did a really good job from top to bottom. It all fit that era. Like, I believed I was in Berlin in 1989, even though it was a year after I was born. I have no idea. But
yeah, that hotel she was in was pretty snappy. A lot of neon lights in her hotel room.
Yeah, and actually that scene where she gets out of the hotel room and she's walking to the agency building.
Okay.
In London, that was actually filmed in Budapest. And I found that out through the commentary, so that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Oh, her hotel room when she's back in England isn't
the very
isn't all
beginning
hot
of the film.
pink. The one in Berlin is.
No, but even inside the hotel room, like, it has that really cold blue tint to everything in the bathroom that she's in.
Yeah.
I love, like, every color choice they have in this film. I totally dig.
Yeah, it's extremely pleasing to watch.
Yeah.
And the story is, it's one of those movies where it's like it's totally been done before, like
and it's still being done.
And it's still being done. Anna, that we just watched, which was just like this.
Right.
But I thought they did a really good job of making it twisted, but not so twisted where you can't follow it.
Yeah.
And the characters that all the twists are built into, I think is what I really enjoyed, like McAvoy's character, Percival. Yeah,
like, if you compare the twists in this film to Anna, I feel like they played the twist game the way you're supposed to play it in this film, in Atomic Blonde. Like, they don't overdo it. They don't do it every 2 scenes. When it happens, it's not like the craziest twist ever, but you believe it, and you're actually surprised by it when it happens. But when Anna was playing, like, I was just waiting for a twist to happen, because it kind of the way they did it beat by beat almost. And that's what I wanted to ask you too, just real quick, is how did this film, does it change your opinion at all of Anna, or does it make you see Anna in a different light after seeing Atomic Blonde, considering that this came out first?
It makes me, I probably wouldn't, I mean, I didn't like love Anna, like I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, it's another hot
we both
chick
did.
kicking ass. But I probably would have drilled into the director of that movie a little more after seeing this. And it's like he was probably up one night drinking and saw this and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to make that movie," and just and just put her on the Russian side this time.
He's like, have you seen that Atomic Blonde movie? Let's do that.
Yeah, let's just do that. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't want to shit on Anna too much. It's nowhere near as good as this one. Neither, on all levels, music, acting, freaking action, cinematography. This movie kind of outdoes it on every level.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you and I both appreciate Anna for what it is.
Totally.
And I think you could easily say that film doesn't happen without Atomic Blonde.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, when you have a good film like this, it inspires a lot of other people to kind of get into the genre, which I'm totally all for. But yeah, it's great. And I think we're living in an age right now where action, like horror, is at a really high level. And I think action now, with the John Wick franchise, is elevating action films to a respectable kind of medium now in the genre.
Yeah, I think, to be quite honest, they might be blowing past dramatic movies.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I enjoy these way more than a really powerful dramatic film.
Sure. Yeah, no, there's a lot to be said about that too. I mean,
they definitely need a category in the Oscars. All these movies are too good not to be winning awards.
Yeah. Like, we just talked about Knives Out, and we both agree that film was extremely well made. But I think we would both agree that Atomic Blonde is much more entertaining.
Yeah.
So it's like, not to jab anyone, but like you said, it's nice when a film can be entertaining and also well made with visuals and acting and stunt work and direction. It's not as common as you would think, but I feel like John Wick and Atomic Blonde, this group of action filmmakers, are really changing the game, and it's really refreshing to see.
And I want more, man.
Yeah.
I will pay. I saw John Wick 3 in the theater because I saw the first two, just, Buddy had them on a computer and I watched them.
Yeah.
And then I saw John Wick 3 in the theater, and I'm really, any of the names that are attached to this circle of films,
Right.
I'm going to go see in the theater. They're just too
Yeah.
damn good not to be watching in the theater.
Yeah, could you imagine watching this film like an IMAX?
Oh, it'd be so awesome.
Yeah. Like, I was lucky enough to see it in the theater when it came out. I didn't watch it in IMAX or anything, but I saw it and I was like blown away.
It says it made $100 million.
Yeah, that's
worldwide. That seems like pretty good, right?
Yeah. And their budget for this film was pretty low too. David Leitch was saying something about the biggest visual effects shot they had in the whole film was that drone shot of the protests over the city, where you see the crowds and mobs of people.
Yeah.
Like, real high up. That was the one visual effects shot they had.
Really?
Like the biggest one.
Yeah, some of that. Well, they did crash all those cars, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because those are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some CG mixed in there, but for the most part, that looks like practical.
Yeah, I can only think of like one shot where I was like, oh, that one wasn't that great. And it's like the opening action when Hargrave's character gets hit by the car.
Yeah, and he kind of does the CGI, like he gets hit and flies.
Yeah, like he got
Yeah.
pulled by a cable.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's the only one in the whole movie that I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And that kind of framed it. I was like, oh shit, you know. And that whole first part of the movie has a very Sin City look to it, like the
Yes,
sun's
yeah.
going down
Mm-hmm.
on the west side of the river, and they did the freaking geography correctly. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Know your cardinal directions.
yeah.
El Toddo appreciates it.
But yeah, I'm not seeing any like awards on the old wiki page.
No, I don't think it won any awards, to be honest.
It
These
should.
films usually don't, unfortunately.
Best soundtrack at least.
Yeah, this. Oh man, we'll definitely get into the soundtrack. Don't
Okay.
worry. Let me ask you a bit about the general plot of this film. So this is a plot. It's not very original because it's been in several films that I've seen, including a James Bond film. But basically, you have a list of spies or agents.
The
that
Panama
gets-
Papers.
Yeah,
You
it
have
gets
that.
compromised. Right. And they're trying to recover that because the lives of all kinds of undercover agents is in jeopardy. Isn't that the plot of Anna, too?
No.
Or am I remembering something different?
No, she's just an assassin, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But doesn't she get a hold of something? I don't fucking know. I can't remember. It was like 4 weeks ago, dude.
Obviously, we didn't go back and rewatch it. But yeah, I know that's a critical plot point in one of the Craig Bond movies, Skyfall. But yeah, what did you think that kind of central plot line worked in this film? Did it keep it interesting for you?
Yeah, I was pretty into it. You know, everybody's kind of and you know, if you listen to a lot of James McAvoy's lines in the movie, he kind of gives the whole plot away, you know, like what side is anyone on? It's all just about either money or saving your own ass.
Yeah.
All those kinds of really poetic lines that he has in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a classic example. Like, if you take a story that's been done a million times and you don't do it well, then it sucks. But if you take something that's been done a million times and you do it great, then everyone loves it because it's familiar, it's easy to follow.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, you know, classic movies like, we're gonna make La Femme Nikita, you know, that's what the pitch was. We're gonna make La Femme Nikita, and the guy's like, oh, okay, well, are you gonna do it really good or bad? And this one is really good.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we're kind of dancing around it, but we're talking about the MacGuffin. So like the MacGuffin is, you know, the thing that whoever's in the film or the story they're searching for, they're looking for. It's like the thing that drives the plot. So in this film, it's that list. In Skyfall, it's the list. It's and both films do that storyline really, really well. At some point, we'll try and do a Daniel Craig Bond film.
Yeah, let's
maybe
do
when
it.
the new one comes out.
Well, let's build up to it, right? We don't know when
Yeah.
it's going to come out. They're definitely holding it till theaters are open. So let's work it in the next few months.
Yeah.
So that
like
way, when I see it, I have a little more context.
Yeah, and then to sell you on those films too, real quick, like we'll totally side tangent, but if you had to situate these new James Bond films, if they're in terms of if they were closer to the classic Bond or closer to like a John Wick, I'd say these Craig films are closer to a John Wick.
Well, that's good because I'm not really an old Bond guy either. Like I'm not that into any of them.
Right.
I've probably watched like my closest reference to all the Bond movies is just Austin Powers movies.
Yeah.
So I've probably watched those way more than any of the Bond movies.
Yeah, you've seen all the Bond films if you watched Austin Powers.
And I like played the video game and stuff, but I don't remember the movies ever being like that awesome, or me being that into them. I guess I shouldn't say they weren't awesome.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll do one.
How many are there?
The Craig ones?
Yeah.
Let's see. There's
Like
Casino
3?
Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall. What's the second Sam Mendes? There's another Bond film that Sam Mendes did, and then so there's going to be 5.
Okay.
The 5th one is on the way.
All right.
Yeah, we'll do that. Spectre, that was the 4th one. Back to Atomic Blonde, though. Let's talk a little bit about the Cold War setting. Like,
Okay.
so this film takes place, a few days before the fall of the wall?
Yeah, right. The Reagan speech is contemporaneous with when the story takes place, right?
Yeah, and I love that element of the film where she's in her hotel room and she constantly has the event going on her TV. So you get a good sense of the backdrop of the whole setting. I thought that was really well done.
It's kind of on in the background in a bunch of the movie, right?
Yeah.
This takes place like during a week right when the wall came down.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. That's not really our generation wise. That stuff happened when we were little kids, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
4 years old when that happened. So it's not really in our cultural frame.
Right.
So it was interesting to see that and to see kind of like the Generation X crowd
Yeah.
in that time period, in that part
Yeah.
of the world.
When they're all going nuts.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And the contrast between both sides of the wall is great.
Did you think they portrayed that pretty well?
Well, I thought where they really shined through was the scene where Lorraine meets
Skarsgård?
Kurzfield, John Goodman's character, when they meet at the little platform that looks over the wall.
Oh, okay. Before she actually crosses over.
Yeah, and one side's like a free
Yeah.
kind of normal city, and the other side's got anti-tanks, and he rattles off all the military statistics that are right on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
Because it was basically like a front, that's what it was. It was a front in a war that wasn't being fought actively. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting period because you think of, like, say 1917. They got the Western Front. It's pushing back and forth, seesawing all over Western Europe. And this line is like just permanent, and there's no fighting going on, but both sides are two different worlds. I thought it was extremely interesting.
I think that's why we get so many stories in this period, too, because that whole espionage angle to the Cold War in that era is always... There's always something super interesting about it. And this is like... You can list all kinds of films that take place in the genre set during this time. Like I mentioned before we started, The Saint. That's a kind of a...
The movie's sweet.
Yeah, we both like that film. And again, it's something about... I mentioned this in our Anna podcast, but something about that era and the way it's shot and the way they portray like this cold, dark atmosphere, with Russia and whoever they got on there, the Americans, the British, wherever it's taking place. There's some kind of continuity there that I just really like, and you definitely see that in Atomic Blonde.
Yeah.
You definitely get that gray, cold vibe going on whenever the east side of things gets put on the screen, at least. Maybe not so much on the western side, but I guess you get a lot more neon on the west side of the wall.
Yeah, you get a lot more party action. But like what I found interesting was it portrays the Germans living on the east side of the wall.
Yeah.
As being, living under an occupation, essentially. And
right.
Did you catch in the scene where the big Russian dude, the main guy, when he comes in and they shake down all the young kids for like breakdancing and partying and shit?
Yeah.
Did you
that
catch,
was on the east side, right?
Yeah, did you? And he says like, "Oh, fucking East Germany's, brightest and youngest or whatever he says." Mm-hmm. And did you catch in that part where he's switching between Russian and German?
Yeah, I did.
While
catch
he's
that.
speaking to him, then like the authoritative things he's saying is in Russian.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really interesting little flair to the movie.
Yeah. And
how they really portrayed the East Germans as living, under occupation, which they were, but it's difficult to think about something like that between a city, a line right down the middle of a city.
Yeah, like literally two different worlds going on.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. you've been down to the Mexican border. I guess it's the same thing. I don't know. I mean, Mexico's not communist Russia by any means. I don't mean that, but I guess I mean just seeing the wall going through.
Sure.
Down in what is it, Chula Vista or whatever, which is right on the border.
Yeah, Chula Vista.
Yeah, and then I've seen it in like Mexicali too.
Mm-hmm.
Or Calexico, I guess. I was on both sides, but yeah, it's a cool era. It's a really cool era because it's like the genesis of the super modern age as well, which I liked about the movie was all the technology they had was like pretty cool. It wasn't outdated, or it wasn't. It was period. It was the right kind of stuff with the bugs and whatnot, and the cassette tapes, and I did enjoy that. I didn't see a smartphone. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, the random lady walking over the bridge doesn't have a cell phone in her pocket. I want to go back to that scene, though, with the shakedown and the punk kids. I think that's the first... We do get some violence in the beginning of the film with Sam Hargrave's character, but I think this is the first scene where we get some real hardcore, like, violent stuff going on screen, and it sets the tone for that character. I think that villain, when he just totally smashes the kid in the face with a skateboard and he's just clobbered and then beat to hell.
Yeah,
that was pretty brutal, and I figured that's the kind of... I know you're into the real brutal in your face action like that.
So that scene, all the violence is really good except for the initial hit. Like the initial hit with the skateboard, you can tell is like, kind of done because they cut like right at impact.
Oh, okay.
But then when he's on the ground, he's like laying and beating him up. But yeah, it lays the groundwork for like, this isn't going to be, it's not going to be pretty, essentially.
Yeah.
And the opening scene with how beat up Charlize is. Like, it's going to be violent. And there was only a few scenes in the whole movie action-wise where I was like, okay, that looks like a stunt. But almost all of it looks extremely real. And yeah, I absolutely loved it, dude. I like that scene a lot for some reason. And maybe it's because he turns the music on. Like he turns the music on the boombox, and makes
it's
the kid
super
dance
tense.
for him. Yeah,
it's a really tense scene. Yeah, you're generally like I'm definitely uneasy when you're watching that. One thing I want to talk about too, real quick with this story is, I do get a sense that this has like that mystery element to it as well. Like you're following Lorraine through the story, and she's kind of picking up the pieces when she ultimately comes to the realization that Percival is pretty much behind like everything that happened to her.
Yeah.
And I like how you get to follow her through that journey, and like in terms of the detective aspect of the story, you don't get that a whole lot in this genre, I don't think. And I thought that was kind of cool. It's like a nice little mixture of detective and like film noir mixed in with the John Wick action.
Yeah.
And that all fits the look of the film too, because you get a lot of like... Are you familiar with film noir at all? Like, it's those old black and white films you get that are real atmospheric with the like...
Yeah, I'm familiar. I don't have... Yeah, I know what you mean.
The femme fatales.
Almost like a Dick Tracy.
Exactly, yeah. I got a lot of that vibe in this movie too. And I really like that genre, so I think that's another reason why I'm so drawn to this film, is you definitely get that a bit in story and visually. Like, it's almost like a detective story too.
Yeah, it keeps you, besides the action, it keeps you completely into it and like just totally invested because you want to catch all the little tips.
Right.
As you're going through it. And there's a lot of them. There's way more than I thought there was when I watched it the second time. And I just think having the two main characters, Charlize and James McAvoy, both, like when you have actors of that caliber playing both sides of the spy coin,
Yeah.
it's just so good. There's no way not to love it.
Yeah.
They're both fantastic in it, and she is so badass and smart, and so is he.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like, at the end of his rope in terms of that life that he's living.
Yeah, and they even say that too. He's like kind of rogue in the sense that he's totally disconnected.
Yeah, and she's just like still doing her job to the fullest,
Yeah.
It's really good. And then you find, do we give away the big reveal?
Let's talk a little bit about
it. Yeah, let's
well,
not, right? If nobody's seen it,
we'll talk about it generally though. Were you satisfied with where the story ended up?
Yes, because it leaves the door wide open for a sequel, man. Like that's all I want.
And I'm talking about the very, very last twist of the film.
Yeah.
I
didn't see it coming.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah. It caught me off guard.
That's great.
So bravo.
It's hard to do that for you.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty clued in.
Yeah, you're really good about that.
And the second time when I watch it, I should have caught it. But I will give credit. I didn't catch on.
All right, sweet.
And that's awesome. Total bravo.
All right, cool. That's awesome. All right, we won't say anything more about it.
But the resolution of the movie leaves it so there can be more, and I want more so bad.
Absolutely.
So bad.
All right, well let's talk about the star of this film. Let's talk about Charlize Theron. Man, this is the caliber of actress Charlize Theron is. Someone she's good at. We know she's a great actress, but during the commentary of this film, David Leitch just would not stop talking about how dedicated she was with the stunt work. Like, if I'm not mistaken, because he was talking during that whole stairwell fight.
Yeah.
That's all her. The person being thrown and flipped onto tables being busted and stuff, that's Charlize.
Really?
Yeah. And he said she would just bring it and would get up and do it over and over again.
I love that she is screaming and wildly exhausted. That fight scene. It's like a long cut. It's a long cut that you don't have a lot of suspense building into it, and it just starts, and then it's 7-8 minutes of hardcore 10. Fighting, and her and the guy who looks like Robert Downey, like a steroided out Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
his character.
Mm-hmm.
The guy with the bleached hair. When they are battling in the apartment and they're back and forth in each other and they're both so beat up and so exhausted. It had a really, really realistic action vibe.
It was really gritty.
From an exhaustion standpoint.
Yeah.
Because that scene is so long, and the whole stairwell thing, getting thrown down the stairs, and it's so well done. And it's done like a long cut John Wick style action, but it's obviously there's cuts in there, when they go close up on the backs and then they rotate the room and whatnot, walk down the stairs and pan back up. Those have to be where the cuts are. But it's done so well.
Okay, I think this guy is Bakhtin. I think that's the one that she's fighting. Johannes is the actor's name. But I think what helps set the stakes for that huge fight is that they have a bit of a brawl before that in the theater.
Yeah, she sticks the key in his face.
Yeah, and you get a sense of just how much of a juggernaut that guy is. He's holding her up by the throat, right? Choking her out.
Yeah.
And she's sticking shit into his cheek, and he does not care. And he's fighting for a good 30-40 seconds before he even does anything with that in his cheek. So yeah, you totally buy that. By the end of that second fight, they're extremely exhausted.
Yeah, and you buy that she's a woman in the fight. You know what I mean? She is super powerful and trained, but it's not unbelievable because she has manhandled too, tossed
she has
around
a different
and
skill
stuff.
set.
Yeah, exactly. It's precision. It's not power. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if she did a bunch of these action scenes herself, which it sounds like, just on top of the completely drop dead model, gorgeous face, She's an extremely talented Oscar-winning actor, and then she's doing action at this level. Like,
Yeah.
she just needs like a freaking award for awesome.
Yeah.
You're fucking awesome, Charlize.
Yeah. Oh man. So we could gush about her all day long. This cast list is extensive. Like it's loaded.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have,
yeah. Let's jam down it.
James McAvoy, he's like the other lead character. He's good in everything.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, and I don't know if I've seen a lot of movies with him in it. I know I've seen him on like the talk show circuits, and everything I've seen him do I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is the first movie where I was like, man, he is so awesome.
He's really good. He's great as Professor X in the X-Men films.
Okay.
He plays like a younger version of Professor X, but he's been in so many good films. You know what you're going to get with him. And I like the character he helped build for this, like with the shaved head and that carefree attitude going on.
Yeah.
On top of like selling the espionage and the backstabbing, he's perfect in this role.
Yeah, he's like his whole like basically at one point of the movie, once everything is kind of basically after the plan to get Eddie Marson's character across Spyglass, the plan to get him and his family across goes haywire. From that point on, it's almost like every line that he has is straight poetry.
Yeah.
In the rest of the movie, like his whole final speech and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's I really enjoyed him. I enjoyed I'll put it this way, there wasn't anybody I didn't like.
Yeah, I mean everyone in here is so good. Like Eddie Marsan, just real quick, he's been in a bunch of great like English shows. I've seen him in a lot of English TV. He was in like the Sherlock films with Robert Downey Jr. He plays Inspector, what's his name, Lestrange in the Sherlock Holmes films.
I haven't seen any of those.
Yeah, he's really good in there, and he plays a totally different character in this film. He's like more of a timid kind of like nerdy character in this movie, and then in the Sherlock Holmes films, he's a lot more badass and like rough cut.
Nice.
So it was like awesome to see him in here. Toby Jones, who plays Eric Gray, he's like one of the English agent guys. Like he's been in the Marvel films, and he looks like he's out of a James Bond film in this.
Yeah, everybody fits really well.
Obviously, John Goodman. Like, I'll watch anything with John Goodman in it.
Yeah, dude. Mount Rushmore guy right there, in my opinion.
He plays like the perfect CIA American in this period. Like, oh man, so good.
We got to give a shout out to Roland Moeller.
Yeah. This is the main bad guy, right? The main bad.
He plays Bremovich.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I buy the savage, like menacing aspect of him. Totally believable. Sophia Boutella, she was like huge during this period of films. Like she did Star Trek, she did The Mummy, she did this film.
The Mummy? She was in Kingsman?
Yeah, she's been in a whole bunch of different films, but there was a period of time, like in a span of 5 years, where she was one of the hottest names.
Well, she's
like the hottest actresses.
Yeah, I guess I've seen Kingsman, but I don't remember. I guess I don't remember it. I remember her in it. I just remember like that freaking church scene where he goes crazy and kills fucking everyone in the whole place.
Yeah,
that's like all I remember from that movie.
Yeah.
But no, she's awesome in this movie.
And like the chemistry she has with Charlize, you buy that completely. They have a chemistry going on, like the dynamic of her being sort of the innocent new French agent, and Charlize being a little bit more, weathered and having a lot more, I guess, experience in the field than she does, and you buy that kind of dynamic they have. And that's one thing that
sexy as fuck. You kidding me? There's like 14-year-old boys beating off to this movie left and right.
Besides, take the hot factor out of it, I still buy that relationship. Like the way they sell it, it's so well done.
Yeah. I still don't know if Charlize is just playing her or not. Like, yes, you kind of you know that she like cared about her in some way or another, but still for Charlize, like everything's business, you know?
Well, that's the thing I think about Lorraine, Charlize's character, that's so interesting is she has this very cold, disconnected side to her that I guess any agent has in this kind of film. But then I felt like Sofia Boutella's character, once she got in and made that connection with Lorraine, you get the more nurturing, caring side of Lorraine, that she's the good guy. Like, she's going to do what needs to be done, but she's going to try and help people.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, Lorraine, that's brought out from Lorraine because of Delphine, the character of Delphine, Sofia Boutella's character.
Yeah.
And to even accentuate that more, David Leitch had this whole motif going on in the film. It's a visual thing where if you look, a lot of her shots, Lorraine is looking into a mirror, or her reflection is caught like on a table surface or on a mirror or a window pane. And that was like a conscious decision. He wanted to show visually that she has like this dual side to her character.
That's cool.
And
yeah, now that you say that, I kind of like the motorcycle windshield.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of, okay, that's super cool, super deep.
Yeah, and that was totally planned out too. There's the scene where, spoilers, Delphine is choked out and she's dead.
By the way, the knife in the back is a great part of the movie. At that part, when she stabs him with the letter opener, and he can't get it out, and he falls against the wall and sticks it in even farther. It's awesome. It's like one of my favorite parts of the movie. Sorry to interrupt.
It's so gritty and realistic. But yeah, that scene when Lorraine comes into the room and finds her body there, and she knows that she's dead. There's a moment there where she's kind of on the ground for a little bit, and she's just kind of taking it all in that Delphine's dead. If you look at the frame, she's literally split in two.
Yeah,
there's a mirror there.
Yeah, I was gonna say the wall she's leaning up against is reflective, right?
Yeah. So in the commentary, it's funny. On the day they were shooting that, and she was directed to get on the ground, she was like, "I don't understand why my character's on the ground." He's like, "No, it has nothing to do with your character's motivation or anything. It literally is just to pay off this motif that I've been painting throughout the whole film." It's like, I need to sell this like mirror dual thing with your character. She's like, "Oh, okay, I get it." And so they shot it.
Yeah, that's fantastic symbolism, you know, because Delphine's character is like the only person to crack Lorraine's armor in any way.
Yeah, and
that completely shows her one soft side because Delphine's laying there dead on the ground. That's very nice.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm saying. The more times you watch, I want to watch it again now. It's like, okay, now I know I actually want to watch the commentary stuff that you watched.
Yeah, you wouldn't get bored. It's really cool. It's David Leitch and then the editor of the film. They both sit down and talk about, they go through the whole film.
So like when you purchase it, it's one of the extras?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. I'm going to purchase it, I think, because it was only $10, I think, to buy it, or $7.99 or something, but it was only
a lot of times it's on
to
sale too. Like I've seen it on sale for $4 sometimes. But yeah, it's little choices like that are totally planned out, and they're really, really cool. But anyways, like I'm sure you caught a lot of those shots though, with her reflection and a lot of different things.
Yeah, they stand out in my memory, but it didn't click with me until you said it. Like as soon as you said it, it's like, oh yeah, that's like sprinkled throughout every time you see Sophia. You know, there's some type of around the corner window or something, you know.
Right.
She's pretty ninja too with her old camera.
Yeah.
Getting in close on old Percival and Bremovich.
Well, she really she's the nail in the coffin in terms of Percival's his association with the Russians. Like, Lorraine finds all her photos of him making the deals.
Yeah, her camera was pretty badass.
Yeah? Did you recognize specifically what it was?
It was some type of dope Nikon, but...
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it was, I mean, it obviously wasn't digital, so that fits.
There were cameras before digital?
Because she's, like, developing the film. in her apartment. How dope
What's
are the
this-
apartments in Berlin, by the way?
Oh,
They
dude,
all look
come on.
so badass.
Yeah.
It's like these
They-
dingy buildings from the outside. You go in, it's like these.
It looks like a strip club on the inside.
Yeah, 12-foot ceilings and rooms
the-
everywhere.
The love couch and the neon, like,
Yeah,
it's so cool. I love neon in films when it's used well.
yeah,
It's I don't know, it just gives this really cool atmosphere, and it works so well in this movie. And I think that's something visual too that's just used to differentiate East and West is you get all the gray with the East and then you get all of the neon color on the West.
yeah.
It's like a total. He took the whole mirror thing and applied that to the whole location too.
Yeah. If you had to pick a favorite character that aren't the two main characters, who would it have to be in the movie?
Man, that's a really good question. I mean, John Goodman's almost doesn't count either because I love him in anything. I really like Sofia Boutella in this movie.
Okay.
She brings that kind of innocence to a film that's totally pessimistic and all of the usual feelings you get in an espionage film. I like that she brings that element of kind of innocence and naivete to a film like this. So yeah, I'll say her. And then I also liked Eddie Marsan as Spyglass.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I like.
And then we got a. Oh,
his,
sorry. Go
his
ahead.
line in the movie when he tells Lorraine she needs to work on her German. That's like one of my favorite lines in the whole movie because it's like right at not at the end, but kind of like the bridge of the crazy action scene, the crazy stairwell scene, you know?
Right.
And he's shot and I'm bleeding out and he's still like, he's such a proper educated man that he's telling her she needs to work on her German after she just pointed a gun at two cops and told them to get on the ground. Like that was like my favorite line in the movie.
Yeah, he's so good in anything that he's in. They did hell of a job with casting. And then shout out to Bill Skarsgård, Pennywise.
Yeah.
As Merkel. This is I'm sure this is one of his earlier roles, one of his first roles.
Well, when did the first It come out? Had to come out right around the same time as this. I saw it in 2017. I know that because I was on a job out in Blythe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This came out, 2017.
Same year.
Cool. Hey, maybe someone saw this film and was like, let's get that guy. And then Sam Hargrave, too. Shout out to Sam Hargrave. He's in the beginning of the film.
Yeah. Gets blasted.
Another one of our boys right there. But yeah, so I guess it's safe to say everyone did a pretty good job.
Yeah, not one person didn't look the part by any means.
Everyone fit really well. Let's get into one of my favorite parts of the whole film is how this thing looks.
Yeah.
And I think it's clear that they wanted to pay homage to the graphic novel because the way this thing is shot, it is gorgeous. It looks like it's coming off the page of a graphic novel. I mean, for me, it's not only the colors and the neon and also the gray aspect of East Berlin, but the cinematography. There's some really interesting shots in this film. And I do have a few favorites, but I think you had mentioned that you really liked a few shots specifically in the film that you were telling me a bit about.
Yeah, I really love the shots where the camera starts out upside down.
Yeah.
And then completely rotates 180 degrees, vertically.
Yeah.
And they did did you know, I just really loved the camera work in this movie because there's you can see a little bit of what some of the stuff they did in Extraction.
Right.
Like the coming out from the street into the car. Mm-hmm. Did you notice that's in this movie a few times?
Yep,
I caught it. I was like, oh, they do that in that movie.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I really liked how the long cut action scenes were
that was in Extraction,
very
wasn't it?
mobile. Yeah, they did the same thing in Extraction. They do it in this movie a few times.
Okay, so that would make sense because if that was Second Unit, which I'm guessing was Second Unit in Atomic Blonde, Sam Hargrave was directing Second Unit in Atomic Blonde. So he's probably like, I know a trick.
Yeah. And they do it multiple times in the movie, the whole upside down to right side up twist while it's panning out.
Right.
I love that. And there's so many like iconic shots of her in the hotel room in West Berlin.
Yeah.
Like every one of those frames can be just like a poster.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful, you know?
Yeah, take our money. Give us all the posters. Anytime Charlize is lit up with a close-up shot and you get the reaction on her face, whether she's in the hotel room or outside, and you get the blue or purples of the neon, I love that.
Yeah.
There's something very film noir about that. It's just so beautiful to watch. I don't think there's a bad shot in this film. It's like every shot is meant to look gorgeous.
Yeah, and you had to call it Atomic Blonde because her hair is just like a freaking lighthouse in the whole movie, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She definitely
that
sticks
contrast with the neon, it's just like straight out of a like video game, you know?
Yeah.
Or like a graphic novel. It's like a graphic novel in the best sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like you know how some of Sin City feels like a cartoon? Some of it does a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
There's no vibe in this movie like that at all.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's a drawing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd also say that Sin City 2, that's based on the graphic novel, and I think they took that a little more literally.
Yeah, right?
Whereas this one is a lot more like realistic, but you still get that vibe of it being born out of a comic book. It's really, really cool to look at. Trying to think here, some of the like the big action stunt pieces. Like we talked about the hallway scene or the staircase scene a bit, but one of the parts of the film that I really liked was when they're setting up it's towards the end, and it's before they get into the hallway or the staircase, but the Russian sniper is getting set up, and he's getting ready to shoot them in the crowd of protesters, and then all the umbrellas come up.
Yeah, that's a cool scene.
That was so cool.
Yeah, it was like a very, very clever, plan on the part of, what's his name? Merkel.
Yeah, and as far as I know... Oh, sorry.
So I got a question. Is he... Yeah. Merkel is kind of a double agent too, correct? I'll just say this. He's around in the end of the movie.
Yeah.
The last scene.
Oh, I get you. Yeah.
But anyway.
He's in on something.
Yeah, visually when they do that, because they shot that probably on a cable or something between those two buildings, right?
Yeah.
Because the camera like pans across the street when everything goes up.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
It was really well done. And as far as I know, all those people were real. Those were all extras.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And I think what I mentioned before we got on is their biggest visual effects shot wasn't even like a car explosion or a street chase. It was the overview shot of all the protests going on in the city right before that scene.
Yeah.
And they were like, that was all we could afford to do. So we had to be smart with how we used our visual effects money.
What was your favorite, if you had to pick a favorite scene or sequence, because a lot of the movie's chunked out into long sequences, what would it be? Because I have one that's not, I guess. Well, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I mean, obviously the main one is that staircase scene, but I like the car work, all the car chase stuff towards the end. But for me, my favorite is when she first goes into the Russian agent's apartment, and she's scoping it out.
It's not the Russians, right? It's what's his name's.
The dude who kills.
I thought it was Gascoigne's apartment.
I
think it is Gascoigne's apartment. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, that's the scene I was gonna say too.
Yeah.
Or sequence.
For me, and it's real specific too. I like the way she fights with a freaking hose. Like she's totally using the hose to wrangle people up and like take them down. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, what I really liked about that scene is, one, the music. She runs into the apartment and turns on George Michael.
Yeah.
And it's just blaring. And it's so good. And I love how they change the volume of sound when in these action scenes.
Yeah.
Like if a big boom would happen, like her hearing would go out and the music would be all low in the background and then come fade back in. Or when she goes outside of the apartment, the music you could tell it's playing in the room next to it.
Sure.
Like that stuff was so accurate. But what I loved about that scene the most is like that's the first long cut action in the movie. Yeah. It's like her introduction as a total badass. And they play up the fact that those dudes, those just regular cops that are coming after her, are like, she's just way more badass than all of them. And she doesn't take a lot of punishment in that action scene. She like fucks them up just to kind of like demonstrate like she's a total badass. And then the stairway scene at the end of the movie, she's like facing much more, accomplished opponents. Mm-hmm. And just getting the shit kicked out of her, but that's like my favorite sequence in the movie. It's so good when she jumps out of the window, which is in the trailer and all that.
Yeah.
Or jumps over the balcony and pulls the guy like, so good. And the music, dude, the music in that scene is just perfect.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that too. We'll get into that. Just real quick though, you can with the car chase in this film, there's you can tell that Sam Hargrave was influenced a lot by what went on in this film.
Yeah.
It has a lot of those really cool elements of the first-person perspective in the car and, like, the claustrophobia going on in there. And then the way it ends with the total crash and the ultimate ending at the end, that's, oh, man, that was pretty brutal. And I like how they closed off that scene.
Yeah, and what's what's crazy to think about is the crazy car chase scene, which is great, and it has all kinds of 360 elements inside a city, with all kinds of right angles and turns, and the camera's facing forward and backward. It's so good. Mm-hmm. But that comes immediately after the staircase scene, like in long cut form. That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's not all the same, but
the
way it's portrayed is awesome. Like that
so
shit,
good.
I'd like to do like a little study where we wear heart rate monitors and watch the movie and get the data.
Good, let's do it.
Because that scene has to have your heart rate pumping like you're jogging around the block or something.
Oh man. Let's do that. We'll try and do that one of these days. I'll write an article. We can co-write one.
I have one device that can do it.
Yeah, I can borrow
a monitor.
I can borrow someone's smartwatch over here. That's that'd be really cool.
The smartwatches do it?
I think so, yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah, we've been dancing around it all this time, but the music in this film is awesome. It's
the best score, whatever you want to call it, soundtrack of any movie we've done. Yeah. And I'm not like a super 80s fan in terms like those are my songs or anything, because that's like right before I started getting into music as a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm more like a 90s grungy, I guess. Those was like the first music I was into.
Yeah.
But it fits so well, and it's not just the fact that it's like 80s music in an 80s time period. It's the way they use the music.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like it changes volumes multiple times. The same song come up multiple times in the movie because they're listening to recordings.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? Like when McAvoy's listening to the bug that he placed on Lorraine, and when she's listening to the bug, that was placed on him. Yeah. Like you can,
or it moves from soundtrack to diegetic, like you hear it coming from
exactly
headphones.
It's because that's what happened at that point in the movie.
Right.
Like so many little touches like that. It would be so easy to miss that in editing, because like, okay, I'll put it this way: the soundtrack in the movie is like really going on in the actor's ears at that point in time. It's present, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just like they're playing it for the movie. It's
Right.
part of the movie.
Yeah,
with the
that's
boom
what,
box and the stereo systems and then all the radio list. Like, it's so cool.
that's what they call diegetic sound in a film. So anything that's being played that the characters can hear. So yeah, that's really cool.
Well, it's almost like the whole movie's like that.
Yeah. And that was a conscious decision. Like David Leitch was saying that his vision for this film, he really wanted to make it almost like a long form music video.
Yeah, they get the Kurt Loder MTV nod in there.
Yeah. And you really get that vibe. He even said that when they would shoot, they'd have the song playing on set for the characters, for the actors on set to interact with. So that whole sequence with the Clash playing, London Calling, when she's walking to the building, they had that blasting during filming so that her strut could go along to the sound of the music.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, dude. Awesome.
It's so like her steps were in sequence with the song.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Little things like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it certainly stands out.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I'm not the biggest fan of 80s music. Like I enjoy it, but I feel like every time I turn on the damn radio, it's like 80s hour or it's like 80s weekend. Like it gets so overplayed and I get over it really fast. This film just makes you appreciate all of that music all over again.
Yeah, it captures the culture of the time way more.
Yeah.
When you hear an 80s song
Mm-hmm.
and you're driving through Los Angeles or something, like it doesn't really jive.
Yeah. And I love how there's no genre favoritism. They play all kinds of different music from the era. It's really, really well done.
Do you think all of the newscasts that you're hearing are from that era? Like the actual live news that's going on?
Yeah, I would imagine so. It seems like they just took footage of maybe even that day.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Yeah, so well done.
It's like you have to really appreciate the attention to detail doing a period piece like this, you know?
Yeah.
It's awesome. I absolutely loved it. I loved it more than it affected me more than any movie I've ever seen in my life from a music standpoint.
Yeah.
Like I think I probably like this, like not like I would buy the soundtrack, but in terms of matching a tone and a vibe of a movie, I think I like this more than any movie I can think of.
And I thought the perfect little bow at the end to wrap everything up is ending the film with Under Pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Like Queen, David Bowie, like come on.
Yeah, dude, it's not just that though. It's like every song is so perfect with what's going on screen in the whole movie.
Yeah. Oh man. I want to watch it again.
I think we've gushed enough about love. Do you have anything you don't like about the movie?
I don't like that we don't have a sequel.
Yeah, yeah. Throw that out. But if you have to, I have to press you and pick at one thing in the movie, what would it be?
No, I honestly can't think of anything that I had a real gripe about in the film. I thought it was solid. I thought there weren't any major glaring holes in the plot, at least from what I've seen. No, it sucks. I don't like to say that about movies because there's no such thing as a perfect film, but I thought this film was really, really well done. What about you?
I love everything in the movie, but the first when what's his name, Gascoigne gets hit by the car, that one stunt I would have liked a little better. Yeah, I think maybe just smash his legs. He doesn't have to fly up, you know. Just go straight for the smash legs. Yeah,
I hear you. But yeah, I mean, if that's your gripe of the film, I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's it. I loved absolutely everything else in the movie.
That's awesome. But yeah, so would you recommend this film?
Hell yeah. Go buy it. You're going to watch it a bunch of times. It got me feeling like a kid pumped up on a new band that I found or something.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's a bunch of bands that you rediscover.
Not even just from the, like, I want to go listen to those bands. I'm saying, like, the feeling you get when you find a new band and you want to go find their whole discography and listen to everything.
Yeah.
But we only got one, so let's go. let's go, David. Can we please get to? You don't have to cross it over with John Wick. Just give us Atomic Blonde 2.
Yeah, I'm sure if the studio gave him the green light, he'd be more than happy to do a sequel.
Please. Please.
Yeah. Come on. Throw us a bone.
It's so good.
Yeah, for me, I definitely say this is a film that's worth buying. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. This is, however, $10-15 well spent. And on top of that, you'll get all the cool bonus features.
Yeah,
like
see, that's what kind of sells me. It's like, yeah, it might go on Netflix or something someday.
Yeah.
But I really don't want to wait. I'm all jazzed right now. Like, I want more. I want to go watch YouTube videos of how they filmed it. I want to watch interviews, you know?
Yeah. And I'll have some of that stuff posted on the article for this movie too.
Sweet.
That'll be on the website for Sunday. But yeah, I know it has the full length commentary. It has like 3 featurettes, and I think it even has like a storyboard breakdown of some of the action.
Oh,
so
cool!
It's really worth the money, I think, to purchase it. But yeah, I really love it. Obviously, you love it, and I'm glad that all of my gushing about this film wasn't all just talk. I'm glad you really liked it.
No, it's awesome, dude. It's
right,
the best hot chick kicking ass movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, let's keep the theme going. We'll do another one next month. We'll try and come up with one.
Red Sparrow.
Okay.
That's like the exact same plot, isn't it? I don't know. I have no idea, but that one's next.
We could talk about it when it comes up.
Or a Wonder Woman or something.
Yeah, we'll definitely have one for next month. But yeah, so let's hear your score for this film.
I really want to give it a 5, but I'll give it 4.5 bong loads because I want a second one.
Okay.
That's why. Because I'm a little left hanging.
They got to earn your 5.
I guess, but no, I really just, I really enjoyed it. 4.5 bong loads. I was smoking some Zerpal when I watched this. It was lovely.
Sweet. Nice.
And, I'm going to be buying it because it was awesome.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it.
I can rent it and buy it cheaper than the price that I paid to watch The Hunt. So, much better deal.
Thank God The Hunt is in our rearview window.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm giving it a 4.5 too. It's I know I there wasn't anything that I picked out specifically that I didn't like about it, but I'm also really weary on giving a film 5 stars unless it shakes my being. And I love this film, and it's everything I want in a film like this. It's entertaining, beautiful to look at. I want a sequel, so that's a compliment. 4.5 buckets of popcorn for me. That's what I'm giving it.
Well, I'm sure plenty of men out there and women, this shakes their being in some way or another. This movie
shakes their core.
Sorry, you just left that hanging out there.
Yeah.
I had to go for it.
Sorry.
Yeah, just to address that, it's an insanely sexy, hot movie too.
It is, yeah.
You know, you can't get around that. Charlize is gorgeous. It's an insanely sexy movie.
Eye candy on multiple levels.
Yeah, every level.
Yep.
Ear candy too.
Yeah, sensual candy. That's the name of the article right there.
All right.
Like, seriously, every sense you could think of. It's like...
Totally.
I mean, we can't smell it, but I'm sure it smells fantastic. It's...
Yeah, dude, write that.
We'll do that. Atomic Blonde Sensual Candy. Atomic Blonde 2 Sensual Candy. But yeah, so that's... I mean, if you haven't noticed, we just spent the last hour and plus minutes gushing about Atomic Blonde. So see it if you haven't seen it. I don't know where you've been. You can buy it. It's
where the fuck
totally
have
worth
I
the
been?
money. Yeah, it's all right. It's all good. You saw it. You saw it 2 times.
Yeah. I can't believe it took me 3 years. I'm an idiot.
Better late than never with these.
Yeah.
That's been episode 21 of the Buff and the Blazer podcast. Thanks so much for sticking with us and listening and hanging out with us. And we will catch you on the next one, guys.
Take it easy, people.